Hello, Loving Without Boundaries community. I am so excited and honored and happy to be here with Deanna and Keithan, who are some rock stars that I've been working with who had amazing successes in really a relatively short period of time, literally weeks or a couple months. And I can't wait to introduce you to them. So without further ado, hello, Deanna and Keithan. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your busy lives to share with our community. This is such a gift, and I'm so happy that you're here. If you'd just tell us a little bit about yourselves so that people can get to know you, that would be awesome.
Okay. Well, I'm Keithan. This is Deanna. We've been married for 4 years, been together for 7. Um, we're in Fredericksburg, Virginia, not too far from Kitty in the DMV area. And yeah, we're happy to be here. I'll let Deanna say something she like.
Yeah, we're here in Fredericksburg. I'm originally from New York, from Queens, New York. Keithan's originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and how we met, we both moved here for work. So that's how our paths cross.
That's interesting. I don't think we ever talked about this. My two partners that I live with, they're both from the New York area, and my husband and I, we met not through work, but we both had moved here for our careers in the Washington, D.C. area, and both just didn't leave. We came here for a job and didn't leave. And then we met through Match.com back when we thought we might be kind of monogamous because we didn't know about anything else at the time. That's funny. I don't think that ever came up in conversation before. So, so I trust someday we're going to meet in person once the world opens back up again. I'm super excited about that. And in the meantime, I can't wait to share your story. So I would love it if you'd share where you were in your relationship and on your consensually non-monogamous journey when you reached out to me originally, and tell me a little bit more about what that looked like.
So when we reached out, we were having issues due to infidelity on my behalf. I was cheating basically, and I struggled with monogamy a lot. We kind of opened up, talked about poly, and tried to experiment with things, but I still wasn't being honest and forthcoming and transparent about what I really had going on internally, and just kind of operating as if I was on my own. But we struggled. We tried to do the work ourselves, but really didn't have all the tools necessary that we felt that we needed.
Mm-hmm. When we before we started the program, I personally was dealing with the betrayal of infidelity, where I was just hurt, angry, just suffering in my pain. And while we were trying to work things through, and I put on appearances that, I was okay and getting better, I had regular triggers like every 3 to 4 weeks. And that was like how long I could contain my inner turmoil before I just exploded. So, it was a real difficult time. And as I look back now, what was really sad is that I kept the form to initiate divorce in my nightstand as like a security blanket, because I just felt we were doomed, and I was just waiting for the hammer to fall.
Yeah. You've shared that so vividly, and I'm sure so many people here can relate to one side of that story or the other. I definitely can relate to being a former cheater and the difficulty of trying to be monogamous and it not working out, and the guilt and the shame that you carry around when that's happening, and it's chipping away at your sense of self-esteem. And I don't know if this happened for you, Keithan. Did you start to wonder, is there something just seriously wrong with me? Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I definitely thought that was the case. Because I come from a religious background. My mom and pops. They're both preachers, and they've
Mhm.
been together for over 26 years. So I had them as an example, and in my mind, that was the way I was supposed to be.
Mhm.
And you know, even before meeting Dina, and just in other previous relationships, I tried to get that because I thought that that's the way that my life was supposed to be. But at the same time,
Mhm.
it just didn't work for me.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people here can relate to all of that, including myself, since I often joke around that I'm a recovering Catholic, and part of the reason I do this work is I wish somebody had explained to me when I was younger that we had choices and that it was okay to choose something different than what a lot of times we're taught via society or religion, and that there's another way and that it can be done in a healthy way. It's sometimes people just don't realize that they can get tools. So yeah, I can definitely appreciate both of what you were saying, including Dina, you having like that security blanket, and that's thank you for sharing that. That must have been a challenging time and a tough memory even to pull back up again. So um, what do you think, looking back, was perhaps like an underlying issue that maybe like nobody really knew of what you both were struggling with, or maybe that you didn't even realize until later, if that rings?
Well, oh, I'm sorry. Well, what I came to realize after we started the program is that I was looking for Keithan to fix me.
Mm-hmm.
And I I thought, well, I was looking for him to fix me. I already knew. What I did know is that I felt that he broke the relationship, he destroyed it, so it was his job to fix it. But underlying, I didn't know that I was looking for him to fix me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was eye opening, with the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you've also shared you didn't realize that it wasn't even just about the relationship. It was also that you realized that there were other things that you needed that you didn't even know that you needed, just to kind
Mhm.
of be
Mhm.
kind of a secure, happy individual.
Mhm.
Um, One thing, anything else for you, Keithan, on that question?
For myself, I realized that um, I projected my issues, my internal issues and past traumas off on Dina,
Mm,
which, you know, carried me to continue the way that I had been living as if I was single or whatever the case might be. And, being in relationships and not really valuing the person that I'm with or having any type of feelings about how they felt with what I was doing. So, that in itself just made me realize that I was punishing her for somebody else's issues that I had going on.
wow, that's really insightful. And I don't think we've talked about that before. That's an incredible realization. Yeah. Yeah, so it's got to be so healing to be on the other side of that, and also have that realization for both of you. Before you came to find my work and we started working together, what were some of the things that you tried that didn't really seem to help effectively?
Oh.
You want to get a list, or you want me to get the
Well,
list?
we were in counseling for about a year. We went to a couple of couples resiliency retreats.
Mhm.
Um, we read self-help books, and we also used to watch YouTube infidelity videos.
Mhm.
And yeah,
So it sounds like a couple years worth of things.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Counseling, I will say counseling helped. Um, it was very general and generic advice,
Yeah, I feel like counseling just kind of scratched the
Yeah,
surface
yeah.
for us because, as we've discussed with you in our breakthrough call, we didn't feel comfortable talking to our therapist at the time about, hey, we tried poly, we tried opening up, we didn't think that monogamy was the right way to go, but at the
Mhm.
same time, it wasn't something that we were comfortable sharing outside of just us.
Yeah, I was afraid of being judged, like, well, you brought this on yourself. So I just kind of kept it to myself. And as far as the self-help videos and the self-help books and the YouTube videos, we weren't consistent on it. I, for one, wasn't consistent because I was resentful that I even had to do work. Because again, I felt like he destroyed the relationship. Why do I have to, do all this hard work? And I used to sit back and wait for him to say, hey, let's read this book or let's watch these videos. And I would get kind of pissed off when there was a lapse in time, because I saw it as, with him doing that, I saw it as him really putting in the effort to fix us. And he became apprehensive and even wanting to do that because the YouTube videos would trigger me.
So meaning they would trigger you and then you would get either upset or angry.
I would sit there thinking, yeah, he did that to me and I'm hurting and I don't know what to do and he doesn't love me. Just all the limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
They kicked in and just kicked me down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds, from what you're describing, it sounds like it became like this vicious cycle. When you weren't doing something, then for you, Deanna, like resentment and anger was kind of building up. And then when you would do something, that wasn't helpful either because it would trigger you. And and when you said that you wouldn't tell your therapist, do you mean when you were in that year-long counseling?
Yeah. We never disclosed that.
Wow. So for an entire year, you were hiding that.
Yeah.
So you weren't really even able to unpack that.
Right.
Yeah. No.
That's challenging, super challenging. So how did you first discover this work and Living Without Boundaries and the relationship coaching that I offer?
So we were dealing with one of the 3 to 4 week triggers because the conversation came up about poly and me just finally admitting to Deanna that, hey, I'm poly. I don't know how to be monogamous. I know how, but it's not something that works for me, basically. And rather me continue to hurt you and, lie and say, no, I'm not poly. I don't want to live that way or anything else like that. I'm just going to be honest with you and tell you that, hey, this is who I am. And, we were in that that spiral going down. And so
we got nothing to lose now.
Right. So it was a thing of like I was looking out of desperation. I'm like, okay, there has to be some type of work for couples that are poly or adventuring into opening up their relationships or whatever. So I just Googled, I just did a search, open relationship, polyamorous therapy and coaching or whatever. And your name just stood out, Kitty Chambliss. So I was like, oh, let me just go and see what she has to offer. And then, of course, you were local here to the DMV area. So I was like, this might work. And, I hesitantly brought it to Deanna's attention.
Because hearing him talk about him being poly and everything, while before the breach in our relationship, I was open to it because I was the one that brought it to Keithan that I didn't think monogamy was natural. So with him cheating, that's what really devastated me because it was just a thing of like, you didn't even have to,
right?
You didn't have to. So when he found you and told me that, he's poly and we need help, and the fear just kicked in like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. I'm not ready. I still don't trust you. We just still have all these underlying issues. Now you want to throw this back on the table. So it was rough.
Wow, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. And that's another thing that we have in common is I have also been cheated on in an open relationship. One of the stories I'll tell once in a while is I actually had a sheriff show up at my doorstep with a restraining order for my partner at the time who was living here. And I said, "What's this about?" And he explained, "Does so-and-so live here?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Well, here's a restraining order from so-and-so." And I said, "From who?" I don't know that. So that was how I found out about that. So I've been on the receiving end of that as well. And again, I'm sure other people in the community can relate to that as well. And I really want to honor you both for so vulnerably sharing everything that you've shared so far. And which brings me to my next question, which may even be kind of humorous. Were either of you skeptical, when we had that first call?
That would be me.
Tell me about that, or tell our listeners too about that.
I was extremely skeptical, especially when I went to the website and I saw that your work was to help people feel safe, secure, and happy in an open relationship. And I was just like, no, absolutely not. I am not ready to open us back up. Like, no, absolutely, no. And then I went and I looked at the testimonials and I was like, don't you know these testimonials could be fake or paid for? Like, and the coaching may just be generic. And, once we did speak to you and you gave us that first homework assignment about describe your dream life or dream relationship, and his response took me over the edge because he was talking about being poly with another woman and we're just so happy and loving on each other. And I was just like, okay, he has underlying motives to get me to take this program. So yeah, I just was not feeling it at first.
Mm-hmm. And I honor you taking the leap. You taking that leap and
But my skepticism was the fact that I didn't think that Deanna was going to follow through with it because it was talking about poly, and because before her thing was, we're not going to be poly. I never want to hear you say anything about poly ever again. So it was like, okay, well, I already dropped the hammer to say that this is who I am. So now I'm, driving the nail deeper in to say, well, let's do this work for a poly marriage and relationship. And I was like, yeah, she's going to stop at any point.
Yeah, from the way you're describing it, Keithan, it sounds like that you were throwing the Hail Mary. You're like, this is it. Throwing the Hail Mary. She's either catching it or she's not, but you were owning your truth in that moment. And I also just want to mention, because it's hilarious, that when you said that you thought that some of the testimonials could be fake and maybe people, because your testimonial just went up yesterday on the website.
Right.
And for those watching, I mean, you can see how happy and giggly and smiling we are now, even telling the tough beginning. But now we get to the good stuff. So my first question is, what were some of the immediate and amazing results that you got right near the beginning that you can describe?
Sure. Okay. Well, from the beginning, from that first call, we got more from that first call than we did in our whole year of therapy. And I was really surprised on you showing that you were so invested in helping us, because I really thought the coaching was going to be generic. Like, okay, you would talk to us about 15 minutes and say welcome and hear the modules and just kind of figure it out. But that first call was almost 2 hours, and I was really blown away. Like, wow, she really is invested in helping us, and this program is customized. It's not just a template. It really, but you showed us that it was going to be customized to help us. And once we got off the phone, I told Keithan, I was wrong. And I do feel hopeful now that we are going to get the help that we need.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. It's always neat to hear from your perspective too. And I didn't even remember our first call was about 2 hours. I'm just doing my thing, you know. And yeah, my thing is that I truly am passionate about helping a fellow human being, because I don't want to see you suffer, and you don't need to suffer, you know. So that's why I so love that you're sharing your story here, because by doing that, you're giving other people hope as well. So thank you for that. How about from you, Keithan? What would you say were some of the immediate results that you achieved in just the first few weeks, or what you noticed?
Well, for myself, I'll piggyback off of what Dina said. That
Mhm.
initial call just kind of blew me away. And again, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I hope Dina doesn't just run for the hills and it's not scaring her. And because, it was a thing of like just feeling like sometimes you don't want to change if you see change in front of you. So you
Mhm.
try to avoid it as much as possible. And I hoped at that time that wasn't going to be the case for us, because that first call, the initial tool that you gave us and everything, it really helped and allowed me to see more of myself and more of Dina. And also, I mean, the first week with the Q&A call, with being in the group with everybody, that was something that I personally needed, because I felt as if I didn't have anybody to talk to about being poly and the thoughts that I had and, concerns or whatever the case might be. So for me, it was, like, I made it, I found my people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we have, of course, this larger community, which is wonderful, right? We're about 6,000 people strong, and we do try our best to keep this community safe. But it is a very large group, and so once you join a coaching program like what you all enjoyed, you're in this very teeny tiny elite community of people who are saying, yes, I want my relationship to get better. Yes, I'm coloring outside of the lines. And yes, I'm going to get vulnerable. And yes, I'm going to support my teammates, if you want to call them that. And I'll just say, I've said this to you, Keithan, many times. You've just been such a cheerleader for other people and so supportive to the other folks that have been through the program. And it's been just beautiful to watch that. And also just because also it's that rising tides lift all boats, when supporting and helping each other, people start to also get hope, and they also start to think, wow, I'm not alone. And if they can do it, I can do it too. And they can even learn from other people's mistakes, and also there's so many different walks of life that come through the program, whether somebody identifies as gay or non-binary, or wherever they live in the world, just seeing that they do have people that get what they're going through. So, I definitely want to applaud you for that.
Wait, Kitty, one other thing that one of my biggest takeaways was that I am responsible for my beliefs, my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, and my insecurities. Starting when we first began the program, I learned early on that to become more self-aware, and I realized quickly that I had a lot of work to do, and that this wasn't just a Keithan problem. This was a Deanna and Keithan problem. And I really saw how much work that I needed to do, because he held back a lot because of how I would react to things. So how can you ask someone to be vulnerable and transparent when you lash out?
Exactly. Which is human. It's human to react and to lash out, partly because that's what most people do. Most people don't learn the tools that you all learned. And that's, I guess, one of the questions is what are some of the either the tools or just how you interact in the world today that you learned by doing this work that you had no knowledge of before doing this work?
Well, I love I love embodying my superhero being. That's a part of my self-awareness, is that I try to embody her 24/7 and try not to slip into my lower self. So that is one tool and one exercise that I really loved.
That's awesome. So do I, and you do it so well. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the way I view the work that I do, and this is where it doesn't even matter if you're poly, monogamous, it doesn't matter. It's about you owning the greatness that's inside of you and reminding you of who you really are. And also you discovering who you really are and going, yeah, that's pretty awesome. You know, I'm going to bring forth some more of that. That's amazing. Right. What else? Anything else? How about for you?
The mantra.
I will say the mantra. We say that every day, twice a day now, when we wake up and when we go before we go to bed. The NVC tool. You know, we use that. There have been times that we've struggled, but at the same time, we like, okay, and you're our auntie now, so we say. Auntie Kitty gave us the tools. Let's go to the tool bag and do the work.
I also love the appreciation dialogue. That is another one of my favorites, because it's one thing to say thank you all the time to your partner, but it's another thing to take a moment of your day just to say, hey, I want to express some gratitude and appreciation, for just how much I love you and all the things that you do, and how, I really can't imagine my life without you. And when I do it, I love seeing the smile that it puts on his face, because he gets real cheesy like this. And it warms my heart.
Yeah, you do such beautiful smiles and such incredible energy. I love it. So, and that brings me to another question, like the way the program's structured to be very immersive. Do you feel that helped you really get to the other side of this versus, say, just if you were just, say, reading a book, or we were just doing, one talk one time a week or anything like that?
The entire program, in my opinion, was like a godsend. Like, because it covered everything. It wasn't just a situation where, okay, you got the modules and a training to go through and just read this information and look at it and try to regurgitate or digest whatever is coming at you. But the podcast that you offer, just hearing other people, like Max Rivers, Kevin,
we love him.
Yeah, Kevin Patterson, like, and what was the
Brene Brown?
Yeah, Brene
Can't
Brown.
Forget her. I went and brought her books. Like,
so all of it, in my opinion, was amazing, because it helped you see everything from any different point or angle that you might have been dealing with stuff.
And we also had some of the deepest conversations that we've ever had in our relationship after doing the modules and listening to the podcast. And those conversations really opened the door to us reconnecting emotionally. So it was really nice.
That's awesome.
And also with the modules, we felt prepared for the weekly calls, because we could share, what we got from them and how we utilized the tools that we had just gained. So yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. So given all the, and again, I want to honor you both, because you got to where you are because you got over some, you went over the bridge of fear, right? It can be scary to try something new. This may have seemed very unusual to you, as you mentioned earlier, but you showed up, you did the work, you were vulnerable, you leaned in and were courageous throughout the entire journey. And you also, gave your trust in me, and you gave your trust to the process. And you own that superhero within, every step of the way, which is amazing. So I'd love to hear, how would you describe where you're at now, on the other side of that, after having completed the program?
I personally think that we're definitely back to, the giggly high school kids that, we were before everything came out.
We're better now.
And we're definitely poly is not an issue. You know, me being who I am, and you know, Dana being who she is not an issue for us anymore, and we're able to talk about things. Even if we do, you know, tend to slip up and kind of go backwards, we're thinking to ourselves like, no, let's not do that. Let's, you know, use the tools and move forward. And because we don't want to go back to where we were a year ago, or heck, even what 4 or 5 months ago.
Right.
So,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and that's our biggest thing is like, okay, we put the time in, we put the effort and the work in. So let's keep this train moving in the right direction. And, you know, we're in a couple other poly groups together, and, you know, not necessarily looking at the present time, but, you know, just being in the community and open and sharing our story with, you know, everybody.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is while a lot of times people need to heal, you know, or rebuild trust as they're doing this work. So the way the program is designed, it's more meant to be non-judgmental, and then you get to design your relationship and go at the pace that you want for you. And so in your case, you wanted to rebuild trust, you wanted to heal, you wanted to start practicing the tools, even though your relationship was more or less closed during that time, but you also had an open mind for how the future was going to look, right? Does that sound accurate?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, before, when everything kind of exploded and everything came out, I gave my wedding rings back to Keithan because I felt like the marriage was a lie. And it was back in early December. You know, I asked for my rings back, and he got down on one knee and put them back on my fingers. It was so sweet. And yeah, we're just in a really good place. We also had a burning ceremony where we burnt the divorce forms.
Really?
On New Year's Eve. Yeah. We barbecued them.
That's awesome.
We didn't want to bring in the new year with those papers still looming over.
What a great idea. That's wonderful. Yeah.
So we had a little ceremony, and it was just nice.
That's amazing. Well, just from the first call that we had, where Deanna definitely did not crack one smile. And Keithan looked like he was waiting for a dagger to come out at him.
Yes.
There was so much tension on that first call, and look at you now. It's so amazing. You're giggling like little teenagers. You look so beautiful. And we're getting some great comments coming in. In here, I can't see who it is, but one says, "You are both so well spoken. So good to see both of your beautiful faces again." Little heart sign. And, you all made me cry. So we'll have fun who said that. But yeah, you two are just amazing, and just one of my favorite success stories, because it was so transformational, just so completely different. And again, I want to honor you both for really rocking it and giving it your all, and yeah, just again trusting the process and trusting me to know that I had your best interest at heart, and I still do, even in this interview. And I'm excited to continue down the journey together as we move forward in time, because I don't want to see you go back to those scary places either. And and they're definitely, especially as you continue to open up, you know, more wobbles can happen because we're human, right? So I guess one of my, before I ask this the last question, is there anything else you want to share that I had?
One thing that I realized, because I kind of slipped over the last couple of weeks with the holidays and everything, I wasn't doing the mind shift work, the daily mind shift work, and something came up, and I reverted back to old patterns where I shut down, and we had that same old shitty argument for about a week. And we both kept saying, you know, we're so tired. We're tired of being in this space. We don't want to be in this space. And finally on Sunday, Keithan pulled out our book that we printed everything out. And he was like, we got to use the tools. And we went through, we did,
defensive
having a conversation without being defensive.
Oh, yes.
And we just kind of talked it out, and it was a real realization that having a toolbox and not opening it up and using those tools, it's useless. It's useless. So yeah, you gotta keep using the tools.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's so easy to slip back. Yeah, Colin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's so easy to slip back, and that's why it can be really important to have a mentor or a coach. I mean, a coach is, a lot of times I describe it like when the coach that's on the sidelines, you're the players on the field and you can't necessarily see everything that's going on. You might have blind spots.
Right.
You also need that motivation, that accountability, that momentum, and that's exactly what a coach can do and a mentor can do. Because think about it, you've been on the planet for decades with bad habits, and we had to unroot a whole bunch of stuff, and we did, but it's so easy to go back to all the familiar stuff because you've been doing it for decades,
Yeah.
So that's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
So, and there was I'm sorry to jump in.
No,
there was something that we read yesterday or the day before where it talked about you're not lost. Your identity is not lost. It's just you've conformed to the way society has groomed you to be. Just going through life, you've conditioned yourself to go away from what really made you happy to, fit into society and the world. So that was the other thing for us with having a conversation is that, we got to go back to when we were kids, like when we were happy about just living and no matter what, just be happy.
That's so beautiful. So well said. I love that so much. And yeah, as we get older and we get into the grind, and especially when we've all had such a challenging year, most of us, we forget to use our imaginations. We forget to play. We forget to smile. And even as you're doing this work, you can have fun. And I think you two have made a great example of, just giggling and smiling and having fun, while you're practicing new tools and while you're learning. And that helps make it sustainable over the long haul. It's really awesome. So I guess my last question is, would you recommend the Creating Happy, Healthy, Open Relationship program to people who are struggling?
Yes,
absolutely.
Whether they're poly, open, monogamous, whatever, like this work is just for human nature.
Yes,
in my opinion,
it helps with your parents, with your family, with
friends,
coworkers, with your kids. You can just use it all across the board. Yeah. So absolutely. I feel like whether people are struggling or not, they need to take this course.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. That's amazing. Yeah, because a lot of what you're learning is it's almost things I feel like we should have learned when we were growing up, whether at school or from our family, but we just don't. The average person doesn't learn any of this stuff. So, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping other people, because I had to research this for years and trial and error and test it all out and hire all the gurus. And you don't have to. You can just join this relationship coaching program and get all this good juju and get it in a relatively short amount of time, and then of course get to keep a lot of that information forever. It's amazing.
And Keithan will tell you that whenever we're reading a post where people are struggling or we're watching television and there's relationship problems, first thing out of my mouth is, they need Kitty.
We also spoke, like, when we do get to that point of welcoming someone else in, we're like, hey, she needs to go through the program.
Yes. Oh yeah, because you're not going to come in and mess up what we have established.
Yes, that's funny. And that has actually happened. I had one person go through the program with one partner, and by the end of it, they realized that they actually weren't compatible, because one identified as polyamorous and bisexual, and the other did not. And then the person who identified as poly and bisexual came through the program with 2 new partners. Yeah. and they've been dialing it in ever since. So this also can be, it's literally like lifelong work, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful lifelong work, because what's more important than having awesome, amazing, loving relationships. One of the things I always say is when you think about, like, literally, not to get weird, but when you think about the end of your life and it's your last day on earth and you know it, are you going to be thinking, boy, I wish I worked more, or I would have bought another boat? No, you're going to be thinking, I want my relationships to have been loving and happy and amazing, and I want those amazing people to be around me, or I want to have those memories close to my heart about, like, what amazing relationships, and I lived life authentically and courageously in the best way that I could. So sorry, I really want to applaud you both for doing all of that work. So with that, I'll just put up here. So if anyone, like Keithan and Deanna said, if you are struggling, whether you're struggling with being sex positive in a sex negative world, whether you're struggling in opening up a relationship or healing from infidelity, or trying to rein in challenging emotions, whether it's jealousy, insecurity, resentment, anger, fear of losing your partner, perhaps, all those type of emotions. We have those tools, and also we help give you really ninja communication tools and tools to stop those same old arguments that you keep having and you don't know why you keep having them. You can learn tools to get to the bottom of that. So if that's you and you feel like you need some help, you can book a free breakthrough session, just like Keithan and Deanna did, at lovewithoutboundaries.com/apply. And like I said, that call is free. We're seeing if we're fit to work together, and I'm seeing if I can help you and if I can help you powerfully. And if we're not a fit, I'll let you know that as well. And we'll get to the bottom of it, and it'll be the best 45 or 60 minutes you've spent on making a really powerful decision on figuring out how to move forward in an amazing way. So again, that's lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. And it starts with that first call and that first conversation. And you can see here, I'm not scary. It's just a conversation. So I just want to thank you both again for your time and sharing your incredible story. And I couldn't be happier for everything that you've accomplished and just how beautiful you showed up today. And yeah, I'm just thrilled for you both. So thank you.
Well, I'd like to say thank you 1,000 million times over, Kitty. You saved us. You really did. You saved us. And not only did you save us, you saved me from myself, because cussing ass Kathy was something else.
I hear she just had a showing a couple weeks ago. Well, thank you. You're so kind.
Yeah, I definitely echo it. I really appreciate it, because I don't know what would have happened had we not talked on October 1st. We remember that day very well.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Well, thank you for sharing all that and sharing your story. It really means the world to me, and you're helping a lot of people by sharing your story with this group. So you're awesome. So we'll end it there and just say, let's make 2021 a year to remember, and a year of continued transformation and growth. So thank you so much, Dan and Keithan. You both are just so beautiful. I so appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kitty.